Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be going over the MLB slate on DraftKings and Yahoo for Tuesday, April the 2nd. We got a 10-game Tuesday MLB slate. I'm going to go through the pitcher player pool, talk about some of the pitchers that I like on this 10-game slate. I'll give 3 hitters that I really like for DraftKings and Yahoo, and then we'll talk about stacks at the end, stacks that I feel like I'm going to be going to, teams I'm going to be stacking up, and we'll look at some BVP plays as well. People asked to bring back the BVP, so we'll look at BVP guys that have, or hitters that have done well versus the pitchers they're facing for today's slate. Just before we do get started though, guys, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video. And if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, so that way you won't miss out on any of my new videos. So looking at pitcher today, kind of a totally different slate than what we had yesterday. Yesterday's slate pitching wasn't that pretty. Today we got a loaded pitching slate: Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, Chris Sale, Jose Barrios, Blake Snell, just a few of the options that we have. We got more options than that, though. You got Hyun-Jin Ryu in a great spot against the Giants. Stroman gets to face the Orioles. Even like maybe Zach Greinke's with his price way down at 7,600 gets the Padres. Eric Lauer against the Diamondbacks could potentially be a play. So there's a lot of way we could go at pitcher today. Starting at the top between Scherzer and Verlander, I think it's going to be pretty key to get one of these guys right. Whichever one does well. Honestly, I think both could pitch a really good game here. Wouldn't be surprised if you got 25, 30 DraftKings points or more out of both of these pitchers. But right now, I'm leaning Justin Verlander in this matchup with the Rangers. This Phillies team is very dangerous. I think this is sort of a scary spot for Max Scherzer. If we look at the implied run total, that doesn't show it. Just a 2.9 implied run total for the Phillies. But like I said, this lineup's very dangerous. McCutchen, Segura, Harper, Hoskins, Real Muto, Odubel Herrera, Cesar Hernandez, Maikel Franco. It's a pretty tough spot here for Max Scherzer. He's at home. There is a little bit of rain in this game. There's some weather in this game, so that's something we could watch. You could definitely go to Scherzer, but I do prefer Verlander today for a tad bit cheaper. On both sites, I think Verlander for cheaper is a better play. He's 57 on Yahoo compared to Scherzer at 58. Verlander also in a really good match, or is in a really good matchup here. A Rangers team, he's facing a Rangers team that strikes out a lot. Does have some strikeouts in its lineup. Definitely some power in this lineup, but guys like Joey Gallo, Ronald Guzman, Delano DeShields, even Mazzara, these guys will strike out quite a bit. Jeff Mathis doesn't strike out a ton, but he's a not very good hitter, so really good spot for Verlander. He's a heavy favorite, minus 205. A little bit of a hitter's park in Globe Life, only 71 degrees. I would say Scherzer has the edge there when it comes to ballpark. Scherzer's pitching in the better park, better weather. But I think Verlander is just a better play in general. I wouldn't be surprised if Scherzer maybe struggled a little bit here against this Phillies team. I'm going to be playing both guys. I'm going to have exposure to both guys, but I expect to have more Verlander than Scherzer today, just like Verlander a little bit more. Chris Sale, coming off a rough outing in his debut, is $1,000 cheaper than Verlander, and he gets a matchup with Oakland. Good ballpark for Chris Sale, but definitely a scary matchup. This Oakland team, a lot of good bats that can hit lefties well. Simeon, better versus lefties. Chapman's very good versus lefties. Piscotty, Chris Davis, Canna, Chad Pinder, these guys have power. There are some strikeouts in this lineup, so I could see Sale getting having a pretty big upside game here. But again, I do prefer Verlander. He's 1,000 more. I think Verlander is probably safer than Sale, has the better matchup. I'll be playing some Chris Sale today as well. I'm not going to just go all in on one pitcher. I'm going to spread out my ownership at pitcher today because there's a lot of options that I like. I have a few lineups with Sale, but I do expect Verlander to be one of my highest owned pitchers. And looking for an SP2, there's a lot of good mid-range options today. I think Marcus Stroman at 8,300 on DraftKings you can definitely look to. I love him on Yahoo where he's only $35. He definitely stands out as one of the better SP2 options with that price tag. You can pretty easily play Verlander and Stroman together and still fit in some decent bats. On DraftKings, it's a bit tougher to do that because with Stroman's price of $8,300, with Verlander's price of $11,500, you play those two guys together, that really limits what bats you can get to. So if you're playing Verlander on DK, you're probably going to need to look for a cheaper SP2. And that cheap SP2 that I like, maybe a little bit risky, but Jason Vargas down here at 5,600 in a matchup with the Marlins is hard for me to ignore just when you factor in his price tag and the matchup. I think Jason Vargas is definitely a good value SP2 you can look to today. I don't expect him to go out there and mow down the Marlins and put up like 30, 35 DraftKings points. But we could definitely see him pitch 5-6 innings, maybe give up a couple runs, get like 5 or 6 strikeouts, maybe get the win, and finish with like 20, 22, 23 DK points. I think that's pretty likely here for Vargas. With his price of 5,600 on DK, he just pairs really well with Justin Verlander. You play those two guys together, and that still leaves you over 4K remaining for your bats. On Yahoo, Stroman's the guy that I definitely want to go to. You could play Vargas at 31, but he's just so closely priced to Marcus Stroman that it's hard for me to play Vargas over Stroman on Yahoo. But where they're where Vargas is a lot cheaper, he's like over $3,000 cheaper or close to it. Definitely think he's the better value if you're looking for a value SB2. He's the cheap guy that I want to go to. But that's probably it for like value pitchers. I don't see any cheaper options I would want to go to or any value plays. I think Lauer and Greinke both in the mid-range make some sense. Kyle Freeland I think makes some sense. I do like Stroman quite a bit. If you're fading the top options and you're going with like two mid-range pitchers, I think a pairing of like Stroman and Vargas, if you want to do that and really load up on the bats, does make a bit of sense. If you want to do Ryu and Stroman, I like that pairing option as well. I think that makes a ton of sense. Ryu looks pretty good on Yahoo as well at 45. Definitely like lineups with Ryu and Stroman. You can do that pairing and pretty easily load up on some bats as well. So those are kind of the pitchers I'm looking to today. Now talking about hitters, I was pretty high on the Blue Jays on Monday night. It didn't go too bad. They started to put up some runs towards the end of the game. I think they finished the game with like 5 or 6 runs. I'm going to be going right back to the Blue Jays. I put out a little tweet being funny saying how Cashner's pitching against the Blue Jays. I won't stack them and then they'll score like 15 runs. But looking over this slate, the Blue Jays just stand out. I'm going to be stacking them again. They just stand out so much, especially on a slate where we want to pay up for pitching, where we want to get Verlander, Scherzer into our lineups. This Blue Jay stack makes it pretty easy to do so. So many cheap hitters in this lineup. They have the second highest implied run total on the slate at 5.1 runs. Andrew Castro, just not a good pitcher. I'm going to be targeting a lot of Blue Jays bats, and like I said, starts off at first base with Justin Smoak at 4,200 on DK and at $14 on Yahoo. I've been playing him a lot lately. Some days it's worked out, some days it hasn't. I don't think he had that great of a game Monday night, but I'm going right back to Justin Smoak. Just a guy that does have a ton of power versus righties. Cashner gives up a ton of home runs. He's a bad pitcher. He doesn't really get strikeouts. Great spot for Justin Smoak to do some damage here, so I think he's a really good play at 4,200. Another team I'm looking to stack up again is the Astros. I played a ton of Astros bats on Monday night, going right back to them as well. Right now they're not having that great of an outing. I think they have like 2 runs through 7 innings, but I'm still going to be going right back to them as well. They're in another good spot facing a pretty bad pitcher in Shelby Miller. 5.4 implied run total for the Astros. Pretty decent hitters parks. These guys' price tags are too cheap in my opinion. Springer under 5K, Correa under 5K. Michael Brantley at 4,500 looks really good. If you need value, Josh Reddick down there in the 7 hole at 4,200 could be a value play. But Springer definitely stands out to me on DK at 4,800. On Yahoo, I like him as well at $22. Springer's been hitting the ball really well lately. Gets a great spot here against a bad pitcher. He homered on Monday night. I had a pretty decent amount of him. I'm going to be going right back to him again. I'm going to be going right back to these Astros bats. Astros, Blue Jays were my top 2 stacks on Monday night, and they're going to be my top 2 stacks on Tuesday night as well. Then going back to the Blue Jays, another guy I like from that team is Teoscar Hernandez. I think he's 4,200 on DK. If I can find him, 4,200 in the outfield. He's cheap on Yahoo, very, very cheap. It's one of the better values if you're looking at outfield value plays. It's only $11 over here. Definitely like him. Pairing him with Justin Smoak. Looking at some of these others Blue Jay bats you could look to. Brandon Drury, again, as a value play, leading off. 3,600 on DraftKings makes a ton of sense. Randall Grichuk, I think, is a great play again at 4,400. Hernandez at 4,200. Pretty much that 1 through 4 with Drury, Grichuk, Hernandez, Smoak. I love that stack there. Even if you want to play like Gurriel in the 5 hole and do a 5-man stack, I think that makes a lot of sense. The Blue Jays just look like they're in a really good spot again. They should be able to put up runs versus Cashner. They managed to do it late in the game, Monday night. If they get to him early, this Orioles bullpen is very, very bad. So Blue Jays could be looking at another spot where they put up a lot of runs. So going right back to them. But that's it for my 5 plays, my 2 pitchers, and 3 bats that I like for today. Talking about stacks, I went over them, but we'll do it again. Blue Jays and Astros are my 2 favorite stacks. Astros number 1, Blue Jays number 2. If you're paying up for expensive pitching, then the Blue Jays are probably the way you want to go. If you're going down at pitching, if you're playing like 2 mid-tier plays, or if you're playing like Stroman and Vargas, and you can pay up for an expensive stack, then the Astros do make a ton of sense if you can go there. If we're looking for other stacks, looking for other high implied run totals, no other 2 teams on this slate have over a 5 implied run total. I think a team that maybe their run total isn't very high but can still put up runs, it's probably the Angels versus Marco Gonzalez. Some of these righties can hit lefties very well. Gonzalez is not that great of a pitcher. He doesn't have like really good strikeout stuff. I could see Mike Trout, Cozart, maybe even Simmons doing some damage against Gonzalez here. It is very hard though to stack the Angels just because they don't have a ton of good hitters besides like the top 3 or 4. Like I doubt you're playing Bohr or Lucroy if you're stacking this team, but a mini stack of like Cozart, Trout, Simmons, I think does make some sense. Even on the other side of that game, some Mariners bats versus Cahill, Malik Smith, Haniger, Santana. You've got a lot of power at the top of that lineup. You got speed with Malik Smith. D. Gordon down there at the bottom has a ton of speed, so Mariners lineup does have a lot of upside. Wouldn't mind going there, but I don't really see myself stacking any other teams on this slate. I guess maybe some Red Sox against Mike Fiers you could look to, but that ballpark's just so bad for hitting, so good for pitching. Definitely shows with the 4.4 implied run total. I'm sure if these teams were playing in Boston, the Red Sox would probably have like over a 5 implied run total. So playing in O. Cove, bad hitter's park, don't really like to stack teams there. So don't see myself playing a ton of Red Sox bats. Mainly focused on the Blue Jays and Astros again. That's where I'm really looking to. And then quickly going over some of the top BVP plays. We're just going to hit on a couple that really stand out. Maybe guys that have very good averages versus the pitcher they're facing. Curtis Granderson, 500 average, 7 for 14 against Jason Vargas. That would definitely stand out. Guys that have hit a lot of home runs versus the pitchers they're facing. Turner's homered 4 times off of Bumgarner. Kike Hernandez homered 3 times off of Bumgarner. Pollock's homered 3 times off of Bumgarner. So a lot of these Dodgers bats have hit Mad Bum pretty well. Let's see here. Justin Verlander giving up 3 home runs to Shin-Soo Choo. Randall Grichuk's got some decent BVP against Cashner. Only 3 hits and 13 ABs, but 2 of those hits were home runs. So he could definitely be a guy you look to if you believe in BVP. David Freese, 7 for 15 off of Bumgarner. His average looks really good. 8 for 17 from Mike Trout off of Marco Gonzalez. He's homered off of him 1 time. Another guy, Kevin Pillares, hit Cashner well, 6 for 13 off of Cashner. So those are some just BVP plays you could look to today if you do believe in BVP. It's not something I factor in too much, but if it's a big sample size, there's some BVP plays I do believe in, like Trout against Felix Hernandez. That BVP, pretty big sample size. I think that's something you believe in. If you look up that BVP, it's pretty insane. I think Trout faced Hernandez on Monday. We'll see how he does. But yeah, that's it for BVP, guys. That's it for the video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Hopefully it did help you. If you enjoyed, make sure you click that like button down below. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. If you do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Or hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT. But yeah, guys, good luck on Tuesday's MLB slate. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.